德玛西亚视频站，视频背景音乐、选手主播天赋符文、隐藏分查询，就在王者学堂。还等什么？赶快扫描微信二维码，关注我们微信吧！喜欢猫咪的你，就来关注我们微信吧。
Adjust themselves a little bit. Although some things we can expect: Nidalee ban, maybe a Syndra ban, definitely taking away Crown and Temp's signature champions in that Victor Varus combo.
Well, the problem is even when Syndra has been left open, Crown has elected not to pick it sometimes, and that's something that's really interesting. So now with Samsung Galaxy on the blue side, are ESC ever going to actually ban away that Syndra? Or do they think that maybe Crown will pick it and they have something prepared for it? That's a very uneasy spot to actually be in.
Well, there are two ways to be on top. You're either being the best at being the best, or you're the best at countering the best. So that's kind of the option that Crown has taken. Not necessarily playing a whole lot of Syndra, but with a Rise ban there by ESC Ever, they're actually starting to say, okay, well, that's the champion we really don't want to play against the most.
And Nidalee ban there just to round it out. And so Korea has cemented the judgment, surely, that this champion is still absolutely busted.
But LS, I was watching the patch notes, and they just nerfed Nidalee, but there we go, taking that out. We're about to get into champion picks and bans here, and have a sneaking suspicion that Samsung Galaxy might just not let that Syndra pick get away this time. There's the hover, and it certainly does seem like a very viable lock-in.
Yeah, and this is going to be quite a treat to actually watch Crown on Syndra. You know, at Worlds 2016, he was considered to be one of the players you do not want to give Syndra. The other notable two players were actually Bjergsen and Faker, and yet we never got to actually see him pilot that champion. And so here we are now at KeSPA Cup, and he's bringing it out. And so I'm really excited for this.
So this is actually really interesting. We saw ESC Ever ban away the Poppy and then pick the Jace. So now they took away that 1v1 from repeating itself, and Crazy gets the chance to do to Cube what Cube did to him in game number 1.
Yeah. And so now we're also going to see how does Temp actually respond to this pick. Because we don't know what ESC Ever might have prepared, because you can't just leave it up for the sake of saying, hey, Crown's not going to pick that champion. That's not a very logical way to approach the pick and ban phase.
Well, yeah, I mean, strong champions are still strong, especially when you're on, statistic-wise, the second best mid laner at Worlds if you just go by ending placements. Either way, the picks are going to be kind of interesting. Next two coming out here for ESC Ever, who at least hover the Mordekaiser. Maybe a little bit of a shout out to Fire Rain yesterday, who didn't get a chance to pilot that. But the Olaf much more likely, and this time it will also swap teams going from Samsung over to ESC Ever if they do decide to lock it in.
Yep, and so that is going to be a Vladimir pick, but one of the concerns I have for this early on is that Ambition being on that Lee Sin is going to probably be able to hand the blue over to Crown, which means that Crown can just go extremely hard against Tempt early on, and that's going to be completely okay because he knows he's going to get the blue buff, and he's going to create a pretty big CS deficit in the mid lane, at least for ESC.
I'm really excited to see this Kennen get locked in. If it does, then it's not going to be like that ranged versus melee matchup where, you know, the ranged champion, usually Jace in this last situation, kind of has a leg up. This time they're both ranged, harassed, lots of poke, lots of aggression, lots of exciting 1v1s to come in store if that Kennen is the finalized pick. And for Ruler, really hovering over this Ezreal, what do you think that really offers? Because we haven't gotten a chance to see too many Ezreals this KeSPA Cup.
Yep, the Ezreal is one of the ADCs that I would say is just below the Ashe Caitlyn Jhin. Not a bad champion by any means, but I'm a little curious as to why Ruler is electing for the Ezreal instead of a more traditional Ashe or Caitlyn. That is a little bit surprising for me.
Well, there is a decent amount of poke when it comes to Samsung, so maybe thinking along those lines. Last pick here for ESC Ever could be a Thresh. Thresh, one of the most popular simpler, mechanically adept supports for the longest time that really kind of fell out of the meta. But we've already seen him a couple different times here at the KeSPA Cup, and looks like we're going to see him once more here as Totoro, filling in for arguably the star player on ESC ever last KeSPA Cup, Key. Now he's the one that's come in here as their starting support player, playing a little bit of a throwback here on Thresh.
Yep, and you know, he had a pretty impressive performance on the Thresh, and it's a support pick that I wasn't expecting to see at all this tournament because of how absent Thresh has been for the last almost entire season. Almost all of Season 6, Thresh was a very lackluster support in a lot of ways, just because a lot of other supports came out and AD carries that just did certain things that Thresh wasn't able to sort of keep up with.
Well, especially against an Ezreal who can disjoint the hitbox on the Thresh hook, it really offers you a lot of opportunities, maybe even escape from that. And it's not like, usually you'd see Thresh, I guess, in pick compositions. That's not really what ever has drafted here. So just going into game number 2, who do you think came out ahead in these picks and bans?
Well, I think it's really going to come down to just how good is Samsung Galaxy with this Syndra. I expect big things out of Crown because I know that everyone has known that he can pilot this champion, and we're going to see what he can do on it. But in terms of team compositions, I would also give Samsung Galaxy the edge, but a lot of that's because of team color.
Well, and here over on this side, we can see ESC Ever. If you guys want to support either one of these teams, get out there, hashtag the KeSPA Cup, or hashtag SSG win, or ESC win, to let these teams know who you are supporting as we get in here to game number 2. Starts right now. Game number 2 starting right now. ESC Ever over on the red, facing off against Samsung Galaxy. Both teams with a lot to say after that first game, and really excited to see this action heat up around the top half of the map. Kyuve trying to dodge things around as he faces a 3v1 at this point. Ward will stick. Not able to get that quick last second auto attack, as already some pressure being put on by ESC.
Yep. Crown just standing behind red buff, not really doing too much, and a little bit of an aggressive opening from ESC, just looking to maybe try to catch someone out of position with that Olaf. Sometimes it can result in the opponent being forced to burn their flash.
It might seem a little strange that they would go with the ESC abbreviation instead of like EVR. ESC is their sponsor, Esports Connected. Whereas on the other side, I guess that would be equivalent to like having an SAM for Samsung Galaxy, but they just went with the whole name SSG, which will be on, which is on their Worlds skins, as well as potentially maybe next season if they can keep this level up. Not falling in the semifinals, maybe making it all the way. But this time around, they're just looking for first place in KeSPA Cup and see how far they can make it here against an ESC team who looked pretty decent in game number 1. See if they can come back and take us to only our second 3-game set of tournament.
Yeah, now I like this buy Bless, but I also don't like it because it is a gamble play. They don't actually know basically if Crown would have had intel on if they were coming into the red. So it's a little bit risky, but it does directly attack the Gromp to Wolves to Wraiths to red Lee Sin route that is very traditional in handing off loot to your mid laner.
Well, at this point, we're going to see a very sad ambition as he comes over to a very empty Cinder Hulk buff. Or not Cinder Hulk, what is that called? The red buff.
Isn't it Brambleback?
Brambleback, there we go. I was just thinking about the Cinders and how red it was. Yeah, it is the red Brambleback. It's not there anymore. So a very sad ambition will just now go to the Gromp camp, which does not multiply into infinite baby Krugs. The Krug camp. This is going to get taken out, but at the same time, it sets Bless up for a 3-buff.
Yep. And, oh, okay. A little bit of poke coming out onto Tempt. Probably going to heal that up. No big deal. Crown does not yet have his blue buff, and hold that as top lane.
Oh my gosh, we got to keep an eye up here. This was kind of the highlight reel of game number 1. These consistent, persistent 1v1 between KeSPA and Crazy. Now Crazy's taken KeSPA's champion away, but they're both on these ranged top lane aggressive solo laners, and it's going to be really exciting to see not even just the 1v1s, but maybe how these junglers impact that matchup, because you've got to know that there's communication going on saying, hey, we fought so many 1v1s, we know what the style of these top laners are, now come turn this in my favor so we can really turn that not only the matchup, but the game in our favor as well.
Yeah. And I do have to say that even though Crown knows that he's getting his blue buff, I am a little bit underwhelmed by how he chose to play the early levels. I feel like Tempt has actually basically done everything that he could right now, and he's in a pretty good spot moving forward to begin to face this blue buff enhanced Syndra. Bless now moving up to top lane, and this could get a little creative.
Completely unscouted at this point too, but KeSPA's actually headed back to base, so really unlucky timing there from Bless, or good timing from KeSPA as the way it pushes away from his turret. He will teleport back into lane, so if Bless can stay there long enough for this teleport to come through, oh man, Crazy looking to get in position. KeSPA pretty far forward. He's gonna walk up past Bless, and you gotta know this is the go time. There we go, already so much first. KeSPA will be forced to flash back to his turret immediately, down below half HP after teleporting back into lane.
Yeah, and that was really unfortunate by him. Crazy pulling the trigger, I think, a little bit early. I think he could have maybe manipulated that a little better by taking an intentionally unfavorable trade, but nonetheless, they're looking for a dive, and they might get it.
Shock Blast lands. Axe just barely too short. A miss, followed by another miss, will let KeSPA escape back to his tier 2, but Crazy and Bless just crushing this top lane, and that's exactly what we were talking about earlier, about knowing that that's the priority, because there are going to be so many 1v1s.
Yep. And also point out that KeSPA does have the cull, so he is electing for that little bit of sustain and also a later advantage. We also saw him get the cull in game number 1, so definitely seems like a fan of that when he's able to pick it up.
Ambition getting a little bit of revenge for getting free buffed. Will be going for a lot of counter jungling at this point. He's actually leaving the small Merc Wolf there as well to keep the camp from resetting. Not something you can do with the Gromp, but he'll take that one away as well. Now seeing the mid lane matchup, that's going to be the all-in on to Tempt. He will pool to dodge most of that unleashed power. Keep himself pretty healthy in there in lane. Back up to half health, but taking a ton of harass from a blue buff Syndra that's not running out of resources anytime soon.
Yeah, and I think that mostly the reason that he went for that ultimate at that point was just to try to inflict a little bit more damage. He has the blue buff, so he has that cooldown reduction, and he knows that his ultimate's going to come up pretty quickly, and you can see it's almost halfway off cooldown already. So definitely not a huge waste of the ult.
And for Tempt, his ultimate is actually up right now, but not a whole lot of ways to get in onto Crown unless he can maybe pool the stun coming at him and get it back in onto him. Probably not going to be playing aggressive when you're down to 400 health. So going to keep things careful there for the ESC mid laner. Bless there around the mid lane. Might be able to help him out, but Crown backs off to the opposite side, and Ambition looking for a gank down bottom. Loken and Totoro sticking to the turret. This is do or die. A knock-up, an exhaust into a double knock-up there. Poor JJ flashing, healing out. There's going to be one kill already on the ESC ever support, but Crazy down from the top lane, dealing crazy amount of damage. Going to go down there to Crown, who turns that back around, but it's a 2 for 2 so far. Loken survives.
Yeah, and Crown, I think, could have actually killed Loken had he extended on with his flash, but not willing to take that risk and get a little bit dicey. And now he's headed back to the mid lane. And while that was a pretty even trade, definitely it will benefit Samsung Galaxy because of who got the kills.
Samsung definitely putting those in good places. Any kill on the Crown is just really going to make that mid lane matchup even more difficult for Tempt, who's already kind of struggling, about 5 to 10 CS down. Let's watch this again.
Yeah, so we check this out, and we see that Ambition missed his Q, and from that point, you have to wonder why throw the Q immediately if your intention is going to be to insect anyway. So a little bit of mechanical error. Ruler just trying to get as much damage down as possible, and when Crown arrives, they're able to just pick up Crazy pretty easy. And unfortunately, they can't find the kill onto Ruler, but nonetheless, all is well. And now we go back to the mid lane where Crown continues to try to push out Tempt.
Tempt will be able to at least itemize pretty well. Vlad kind of likes those MR items, things like you know, the Abyssal, Spirit Visage, all those kind of things. So maybe he'll be able to deal with all that early harass, but it certainly seems like Crown has his way. Lots of damage there onto Totoro, pushing him back behind the minion line. That's coming in here with Loken, and it seems to be kind of the same story there. Lots of harassment coming down as Samsung pile on the pressure.
And Ambition now just looking to farm out his jungle. Blue buff coming up again for Samsung.
Oh man.
Okay,
Pop Bless in the jungle needs a little bit of extra help. He's dropping so low, and we'll take it down. If you kill a minion or monster with your Reckless Swing, you actually don't take the blowback damage from it, but he actually still dropped himself even lower and lower. Kind of scary, but he'll make it out of there alive. Tempt starting to maybe manipulate the lane back against Crown. He's actually just positioning back to get his blue buff, which might turn things back the other way.
And right now, I mean, Crazy is definitely in the driver's seat up here in top lane. He already has that Hex Drinker, and Cuvée still just having that Doran's Blade and that Call. So not a lot of dueling stats. Even if Ambition comes up, I'm not quite sure that they can find kills onto Crazy unless he's really out of position.
Really excited for that top lane, which hasn't seen as many 1v1s as we did in game number 1, but now we've got one going on in the mid lane. Tempt getting pushed back, will be forced to ghost. Ambition, though, is not taking no for an answer. There's the pool, forced out to dodge the Sonic Wave. Tempt is out of there alive, but down to half HP. Bless. The least, he would get fired from the 007 team. Not quite the stealthy secret agent he's trying to be around the corner, standing on a ward.
I gotta hand it to Ruler and Core JJ. If you just take a look at the CS gap, it's approaching on 20. Now, a little bit uncharacteristically, Ruler does not have a call on the Ezreal, but that's not gonna be the biggest deal. And right now, I mean, the problem arises that Olaf has done absolutely nothing. And this is a champion that, again, I talk about this all the time. If he gets ahead, there is probably there's no jungler that is as oppressive as him and able to force that advantage down an opponent's throat. But when he doesn't get an advantage, when he moves into the mid game without having any sort of resources, he's almost entirely useless.
This is Bless now on Olaf, so Ambition already showing what it looks like to win with it, even without a huge advantage. Now it's Bless's turn. After, you know, doing pretty well. He's still looking for the Righteous Glory, but not set behind, certainly not ahead. Keeping an eye on the rest of the lanes, though, it certainly looks like a much better start for Crazy after that teleport bottom lane for the kills that he was able to pick up there. Do you think that really just ends that 1v1 versus between him and Cuvée, or is there still going to be a chance?
Well, Jace versus Kennen is normally a skill matchup. I would say that it favors Jace slightly. Oh, okay, Ambition.
Well, Ambition, yeah, you gotta hit something. Instead, will not land anything, and Tempt flashing his way to safety, avoids a gank once again.
Yeah, and getting back to the Kennen and Jace thing, it is normally a skill matchup, but at that point, Crazy was already pretty far ahead, and Cuvée was a little compromised, especially because of the gank that Bless was able to do early on. Ambition
up the top lane, looking to get behind the turret. He's going to go for it. Won't find any help from Cuvée, who's low on HP. Just looking at, I guess, put a little bit more damage down. Here comes Bless up top. He'll maybe stop for that pink ward. Yep. So won't run up just in time to fight the 2v2, but he's actually going to be fighting a 1v1. Nope, Ambition does not want anything to do with that.
So one thing I do want to point out is that maybe some of the viewers are watching and they're saying that Ambition clearly had insect potential onto Crazy up there, but the problem is that they know that Crazy still has flash, and so if he uses his ward hop, that means that he has no escape. So if he gets knocked underneath the turret again by Jace, it could end up just resulting in Crazy getting a kill.
Right, we saw that happen in game 1. Cuvée was the one to do that exact same counterplay versus the Lee Sin. So he saw what he did to his friend, and he doesn't want that to happen again. So good decision to play that one a little bit more safely. And no kills to be had up there, at least for the time being, but the pressure's still solidly in Samsung's favor. Bottom lane, mid lane, they've both been feeling pretty well. Although, in all fairness, Tempt has managed to keep himself pretty close there, does have that Abyssal Scepter completed. Now we're looking towards the bottom lane. Bless in position to stop what could be a dive coming in. There's the Lantern actually going for the gank. Here comes the curtain call, hitting the flash, even post on KeSPA. Teleporting from Crazy, a lot of damage down. They're looking to turn it back on to Ruler, and they will take him out. Chain will lash actually on to Crazy after the teleport coming in from KeSPA. Bless turning the damage right back around, but Ambition, the one to go in. Crazy, they're not afraid to put the damage down with a big crit coming out from Loken, pushing Ambition back away with only 400 health remaining.
Yeah, definitely quite a fight right there. No real clear-cut advantage for either side, both top laners having to use teleport. And we're going to see it one more time. So you can see the curtain call just providing a lot of utility, getting the slows down that were necessary. Crazy and Bless able to find that kill right there onto Ruler. And then unfortunately for KeSPA, Bless does not actually absorb stuns while he has that Ragnarok active. And both teams are just forced to disengage at that point.
That's actually a really good point, not absorbing stuns when the Ragnarok is up. That will keep you from getting all that crowd control coming your way. Either way, a good gank once again down to the bottom lane. Strong gets stronger. Crazy now with his third kill, Maw completed. And on the other side, guys like Crown, who have already had a great lane phase, pick up another blue buff and return to lane versus Tempt. Now, has Tempt kind of hit that level where he doesn't really have too much to worry about against Crown? Is Crown kind of running out of time in that matchup?
Well, interestingly enough, Tempt actually elected into an Abyssal Scepter despite not having any other sources of magic damage on his team, so it's not like he's providing aid for them. I think that a much more logical item build would have actually just been a Sphere Visage, given that there's 4 sources of magic damage coming out of Samsung Galaxy's team composition. So that one's a little bit questionable for me. However, he did manage to stay within around 20 CS of Crown Syndra, and even at some points less than 10. And so I don't feel like the victory for Crown is actually that big, given that he was handed so many advantages early on, and he couldn't really create enough of a gap between him and his opponent. Much like we've seen other Syndras like Faker do, particularly in this matchup even.
Bless finding Ambition will land the first slow from the Undertow. And continue, hits another one. Whoa, turning it back around, there's the curtain call. And Bless saw something we didn't on our screen. KeSPA trying to stay alive, will actually finally go down. Bless now running away from the fight. The insect, that's gonna come in. The kick flash puts Bless back in a bad spot. It's gonna be a double there for Rulers. The fight continues, this time Loken and Tempt coming back in. Flash over just to try to kill Ruler, who's on the wrong side of the map. Loken needs one more shot, but he's out of ammo. Still there, Tempt turning around to pick up that kill. Crazy in the top half doesn't have a teleport to rejoin. Tempt does have a lot of health, but can't quite get in onto Ambition. And Crown, he's pushed back there by the Scatter of the Week, and Crown and Ambition just walk away.
Yeah, and through all of that, ESC were able to pick up First Blood Tower, so we see Totoro land this hook and Death Sentence onto KeSPA, and from there, Loken able to get so much damage down, and Bless almost didn't find the kill, but he did in the end. Unfortunately, he is vulnerable to CC during this. Crown able to land that max range stun and get away over to the left, but Ruler not able to finalize the kill onto Loken. Didn't have any vision in that brush. I think if he did, he might have actually been able to execute Loken during Jin's reload time.
Yeah, that reload time came in at a super awkward moment. He's sitting there and he's like, all right, I got all this damage on my AD carry, but I can't use any of it. So a little bit bad timing, but protected there by the line of sight through the brush. And all in all, it's going to tie the kill score up at 5-5, and really gold within 200. It doesn't get much more even than this. And oh my god, Totoro playing that one pretty carefully. Here comes Bless in with the Righteous Glory. Going to force the flash out of KeSPA. Curtain call in there as well, but Bless actually taking so much damage. Here comes Ambition in there. He's got a couple of great targets, but with it, Bless's untimely demise, and Totoro just barely surviving the True Shot barrage. It's only one kill coming back towards SSG.
Yep, and turns out Olaf does not do damage. So when he's ahead, it is a very scary thing, but when he's not really ahead, as you can see, they were just able to kite him backwards. And even though he's landing the slows, fortunately for Samsung, Karma's able to speed your teammates up and give him a little bit of a shield, and so Bless basically just marched on to his death right there. as ESC weren't able to support with anything. And now they might actually lose this bottom tier 2 turret.
Certainly taking a lot of damage, but without minions. They have to back off, and that gives Loken time to come in and probably push the wave back far enough to save it. Now, this is actually kind of interesting because we've seen that early initial focus for the top lane to put Crazy pretty far ahead of Cube, although it was really his teleports that got him so far ahead. But now he's actually on the opposite side, now ushering Cube into a worse spot on the map. Crazy, much stronger in the 1v1, but Cube with some nice stuns ults himself to safety.
That was pretty cute.
He just zooms right past him, and he's so stunned he can't really do much. That's a little interesting. It does force out not Proto Belt, interestingly enough, but that's going to be an old uncool down for Samsung. Book does land fully Ambition in. He will be able to safeguard himself out defensively, but it looks like he still wants a little bit more. But turning on his ult to get a lot more damage. Ward hop over the wall. Ambition should look to disengage, but red buff in danger.
Yeah, and the red buff might actually go over to ESC. It all comes down to this Ambition.
Oh, nice
with the higher
Jhin
smite,
crit.
but Loken says that his crit is superior.
It certainly is. We saw what happened to Kalista, who could outsmite junglers. Now it's Jhin that's outsmiting junglers. Not sure if he's going to get Kalista anytime soon, but keep an eye on that as things progress. Now mid lane's where the action's at, and it looks like Temp might find the solo kill. And indeed it is a Hemo Plague for a 1v1.
Yeah, and that's something that's not really too acceptable, but huge credit to Tempt as well for finding that. He's been doing fantastic on this Vladimir, now down in bottom lane, a lot of chaos.
Curtain call, finding some good hits there. Lots of damage on the Core JJ and Ambition. The last hit, though, not that much to say on Ruler. Crazy down here, looking for the acceleration gate shock blast to push this under turret. But here comes Cube as well. Cube will not have his ultimate available in this situation, so nice to see the pressure matched on the bottom half of the map, but nothing to come out of it except for, I guess, that mid lane 1v1, which happened earlier.
Yep, that mid lane turret is certainly going to go down, and I think we're going to see a replay of whatever's happening right here. So Crown greeting for the wave, and Temp just pulled the trigger, knowing that Crown doesn't have any way to really get away from him, given that he doesn't have flash available. And so, very uncharacteristic play by him, and again, I have to say it again, the Tempt on the Vladimir against the Syndra pick by Samsung Galaxy has been playing superb.
Especially against the champion, like you said about Syndra, one of, if not the #1 mid lane pick right now, by an 80 carry that, you know, went up against Faker and held his own at Worlds. So this guy is no joke, and Tempt got put a little bit behind early in CS and struggled a little bit in lane, but now he's ahead in CS. He's got that solo kill, and he's 2-0 for his team. So really Tempt on top of his game here, a real asset for ESC ever.
Yep. And right now, they're going to be able to defend this siege with relative ease. I don't think Samsung Galaxy can actually do anything with this. But the bottom tier 2 turret, which Cube is knocking on its door right now, that is extremely low hit points. And so you really have to question what is ESC's rotations here right now, because they're not gaining on anything out of this.
Yeah, they're not. They definitely pulled the gold count back to where they're okay with it. But with that turret going down, it's back to 1,000 lead in Samsung's favor. Ambition down around looking to maybe come around, but instead opting to head back mid lane to maybe help Crown out a little bit. Now, as far as I know, he's unscouted, but Tempt still playing back far enough, actually proto-belting forward. That might signal Ambition to come in. Push back off that scatter of the week, and Tempt probably pretty okay. We'll see if Ambition wants more. So here comes Crazy from down under.
Yeah, and not really too much able to happen there right now. We see Cube hovering around mid lane. I want to point out, though, that he is down 2 levels to Crazy.
Yikes.
So that's not a situation that you want to be in. He does have his call complete, by the way, so some of that CS gap is being negated by that.
Cube putting the pressure on Tempt to really reads things correctly, backs off to his turret, staying safe for now. But once again, ESC Ever's rotations leave their turrets undefended.
And another turret falls for ESC Ever. They should be able to pick up this one. I can't see a way in which Cube should be able to defend. Okay, well, if you want to use your Proto Belt, I suppose you can let it live another day, at least until another wave comes. And this wave, I believe, is a cannon wave.
Will make it a lot more difficult to feel that wave out. Ambition. Okay. Okay, all right. Well, I guess that's one way to defend the turret. Mid survives for now. Ambition doesn't need that kick anyway.
Yep. And Rylai has now completed 4 Crown.
On attempt. I always kind of wondered what's up with the cooldown on Ambition's Dragon Kick. Like, I mean, he's still capable of kicking, but there's Bless going forward. The big race car, Olaf goes in, heads back out. There's a curtain call that won't deal all that much damage. Temp taken pretty low. Goes Sting to survive. Crazy off to the side, but I guess not a whole lot going on there. Certainly Samsung higher health bars after all of that.
Yep. And that came at the cost of some ghosts, so definitely not a very good situation to be in. Samsung Galaxy looks to raise another turret here in mid lane. And I mean, the clock is ticking for ESC because that Olaf pick is just going to continue to get worse and worse. And Temp's itemization is very aggressive, and it's going to leave him very vulnerable as these second and third core items start coming in for Samsung's team composition.
They're starting to definitely power up, and while, yeah, Crazy might be crushing the 1v1, it's really going to come down to the 5v5 play here, as that's the game Samsung looking to play with their sieges in the mid lane that are successful at taking out their 4th turret. An objective lead that really ESC hasn't had much to say about, even failing to take that mid lane turret after Ambition kicked him away. Bottom lane, here's that 1v1 we've been waiting for. Not going to transpire because of both champions' ability to disengage. All right.
Right now, Water Dragon is up.
Oh boy.
And I mean, at 25 minutes, it's not really worth too much. But if you want to be really specific, it wouldn't hurt for Samsung to get it, given that ESC ever is a poke comp, and ESC would like it as well, given that they are a poke comp, and it would help sustain their mana at least a little bit.
Well, ESC have started it. They are tanking the Baron, or the Dragon damage. Now on to Samsung. A couple more resets and it will go down. Big stun in there on to Temp. Temp actually taking a decent amount of damage. He will be able to heal it back up if he does go Chemo Plague anybody. ESC Crazy on the bottom lane continuing to push.
Is a pretty big mistake by Samsung Galaxy. When they had ESC ever funneled into the river, they can actually always make this play. So if you're a pro team, in any time this opportunity presents itself, this is always going to be the macro rotation where the opponent can't respond. You see how difficult it is.
Big engage in the backside, Temp with a nice Evo Plague, but here comes KeSPA, crushing things down with a huge cannon ult. The stun coming in, but Samsung just barely able to survive. Logan can't get the last auto for the execute, but it's a double kill there for Logan, who might actually be able to find more. Crazy looking for the kill onto Ambition, who can't even finish his resonating strike, and in the end, it's a 4-for-1 exchange, only Temp going down after a huge engage.
Yeah, and that was super heartbreaking for Samsung Galaxy because it appeared as if they had the superior position, but then they got caught out ever so slightly and they couldn't find the executes right at the very end. And this is probably going to be Baron going over to ESC Ever, as they don't have a real way to contest this. The only person alive right now, Core JJ. KeSPA not going to be able to come up to use his teleport, so this will be Baron for ESC Ever. And after the recall, they can probably look to get Dragon as well.
You have to be a little careful as their health bars dropped pretty low. But yeah, they also got another turret in the meantime there as well. Let's take a look at how this fight started for ESC Ever.
So it all starts with Crown actually getting locked up. If he doesn't get locked up, this fight looks very, very different. He even had Flash and he didn't use it. And you can see that KeSPA's ultimate almost managed to secure 2 more kills for Samsung Galaxy, but ESC Ever's champions were able to escape with a slither of HP, and at that point, Crazy was just able to pick up the very end of the fight, and they were able to go to Baron and take it.
And KeSPA had a great engage there, which ultimately led to Temp's untimely demise, but just almost narrowly missed executing Totoro, and while he did manage to barely make it out, the rest of his team did not. So that's going to be the Ocean Drake going over to ESC Ever, who after kind of being a little bit down on their objective game, come back in a big way, and now they're the ones with a 1,000 gold lead.
And now coming down here is going to be Crazy, and it's going to be extremely difficult to send KeSPA to actually deal with him at this point because of how strong he is. Duskblade of Drakthar also complete for him, and he's hitting pretty big.
I mean, that's
big
a
truck.
5-1 Jace. What do you think about the Duskblade itemization? We've seen a bunch of different Jace builds up there. Is that just the win more item?
I feel like it is a little bit of a win more item. I definitely would have liked to have seen some other itemization out of him. You could even get a scimitar in this situation. And one of the curious things for me about that is an item which is basically Zhonya's-able, and on top of that, you have a lot of shields to get through inside of Karma, so I can't see how effective that item is actually going to be outside of the 1v1.
Well, we have plenty of 1v1s between Crazy and Cube. This time around, Cube playing definitely more defensively. Oh my god, Temp is disgusting. So much damage. He's actually going to kill Cube and Fool. Nice Zhonya's there, but Temp just waits it out. Picks up another 1v1 kill. All eyes kind of coming in on the Crown, who really kind of came into his own last season. And when Samsung were able to overcome their 21-0 loss streak against KT to make it to World, Crown actually had to take a trip to the hospital because he hyperventilated after that victory. So surprised, then went to Worlds, showed up in big ways, and now really losing this on one of the strongest champions in League of Legends against Temp, who's just playing his power pick.
Yep. And, I mean, you can see Samsung Galaxy, you look at their items right now, and they are just on the edge, and finally, there it is for Crown. The Void Staff complete. Guardian Angel probably not too far away from Ambition, but at what cost, as ESC Ever, off of this Baron, they just got a gigantic gold lead, as they are now at 6 towers captured, 2 ahead of Samsung Galaxy, and, I mean, they're in the driver's seat.
Well, let's watch these turret takedowns, but also this 1v1. Cube just doesn't know what he's about to get himself into.
Yeah, I feel like Cube didn't actually expect Temp to go this hard against him, and I think he really underestimated how much damage Temp was going to do, and that's partially because he is itemizing in a very peculiar way. It's not as tanky or defensive as some Vladimir builds are, and he was just offering a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think the same thing that Crown did. He just underestimated the 1v1 potential that Temp had, wound up losing that one too. It really goes to show when you are so comfortable with a champion like Temp is with Vladimir. Really impressive performance here as he's now extends his advantage to 3-1. That one death coming during a team fight where the rest of his team cleaned up completely. So completely worth it. And ESC Ever turning the scoreline into a very popular Pyongyang here.
And now, right now, it looks like there is going to be a little bit of downtime. So fortunately for Samsung, they have gotten some of their items. You can also see that Ezreal on his way to completing his 4th offensive item. So Ruler is pretty big. I mean, everyone in the game right now is currently pretty big. But the issue is that ESC Ever does just have that slight advantage in terms of itemization. And right now, it's not looking like Samsung is really team fighting in a way that's going to let them pull through with the victory. And there's the Baron power play difference. Plus 2,600 gold for ESC Ever, and a lot of that was via all of the towers.
Not quite as dominant as the Baron power play that we saw from Samsung in Game 1. Oh, but he knows! Crown turns it back around onto Crazy, who does get the benefit there from the Maw of Malmortius, and with the flash away, trying to survive. Ambition, though, trying to come in and cut him off. Crazy, you're not making it out of this one alive. And Samsung, dogpile in for the kill. Crazy actually will get in onto Crown. A lot of damage there, even with the Duskblade. That proc will not take Crown out. And ESC in the meantime, utilizing all that pressure up in the top lane to put more on to the rest of the lanes.
Yep. And that's basically just going to give them some breathing room. Now, fortunately for them, that does delete some gold almost from ESC Ever, in the sense that now Crazy is only getting the magic resistance and armor stats from the GA.
Goes Pop. Temp wants the 1v1 again, and he'll get it. Nothing that Cube can do. Zhonya is only delaying the inevitable. Flash in and Tempt with the get in and get out execution. Oh my god, he's gonna keep it going here. Damage and on to Crown. He's got the Karma Shield to continue this in. Ambition wants to turn this one into a Samsung fight, but can they find what they're looking for? Tempt actually so tanky there. Will get the face of the mountain, turns it around, gets some healing up. There's the Zhonya's letting his cooldowns come back up, but they won't be up fast enough to allow him to escape. But with the teleport coming in and around, Crazy's on the flank. Shock Blast does hit onto Ruler, but it's not actually that much damage. Crown there taking the brunt of it as Crazy might just have this 1v1. The damage comes out, and Crazy finds it, picks up that kill in onto Ruler, wants more, stays alive but not for long. He does get finally taken down. ESC trying to turn this fight as Logan comes up with the big damage. CoreJJ just barely speeding himself away from that axe thrown out by Bless, and in the end, it's a 3-for-2 exchange in ESC's favor.
Yeah, and that was pretty chaotic back and forth, and I can't stress enough how good of an engage that was for ESC ever, and Temp was just living for an eternity, and it gave all the opportunity for Bless to get into position and then for Crazy to join the fray as well, and you can just see how obnoxious this Vladimir really was. Everything happening exactly as they needed it to, and then when the curtain call came out, this was basically the play that enabled Crazy to join the fight, and then when Bless joined, they didn't have an answer from that position.
Now back on live, Ambition tried for the Dragon Steel, didn't get it. Bless was able to secure that. Ambition does stay alive long enough to escape with his life. Nice attempt, but that was an Inferno Dragon that now goes over to ESC Ever.
Yeah, and that's something that obviously Jace and Jin in particular love very much. That's giving them a lot of stats right now.
And going to give them the confidence to head on to Barrett. Now, Samsung know immediately that this is going on, but look at how fast this objective is dropping. Baron down to half health. Here comes the teleport in from Cube, who can just go right into the base on that huge cannon. He's going to go for it, but it's not in time. Bless secures that Baron away there for ESC Ever. A big AoE ult as ESC Ever drop low in the pit, but it's just not enough. And Samsung can't finalize any of these kills, and they're pushed away without finding any executions.
Yeah, and that's going to be the second Baron of the game for ESC Ever, and the next Dragon that's going to be spawning is going to be an Elder Drake. So there is some stuff that is still left to be contested over, and if Samsung want to get back into this game, they're going to need Cube to have his flash up, and they're going to need him to find a God engagement. That's the only hope for them right now because of how far ahead ESC is.
ESC looking to bring this series back and send us to our only second game 3 of the tournament. Certainly going the distance here, now 5,000 ahead. And if you remember from game 2 of Samsung's round of 12 match from a couple days ago, we started to get ourselves to kind of this same position. Granted, it was against Rising Stars Gaming, who are arguably much less skilled than ESC Ever, but Samsung always have that win button kind of hidden underneath maybe some failures, but success always an option. We'll see how well they defend against now a Baron buffed up ESC Ever, who push in onto their upper turret. Of course, down on the bottom lane, Ambition finished pushing that wave up, is now coming to try to defend their mid, but he's not going to be there in time. Temp going deep for it, now actually turning on the Ghost a little bit late there on the quest, so he will get locked out. He's going deep and really pushing Samsung back behind their Nexus turret. It's going to be so much damage between him and Crazy that Samsung just can't deal with. They're now backing behind their Nexus and nothing to stop this ESC push from coming in.
Yeah, and this might actually just be the end game push. When this top tier 2 or top tier 3 turret falls, that's going to be another inhibitor as well, and any misstep by Samsung Galaxy will just result in the end of the game.
So much healing coming his way. He almost dies, heals back up to over half health, and Ambition pretty ineffective, at least so far, in defending this. 2 inhibs down, and now the tables have turned. ESC Ever in the same position that Samsung found themselves in. We'll see how they get there with this replay on the fight.
Yeah, and Samsung Galaxy, you can just see right here, Cube extremely indecisive, not really knowing what he wanted to do right there, and getting caught up just meant that he went down immediately, and that was the loss of the inhibitor turret. From there, it became impossible to defend the other inhibitor up there in top. And Samsung is basically on the ropes right now. And I mean, any misstep at this point, one pick on any member of Samsung results in the end.
Oh boy, well, Samsung holding on, but just barely. There is a ward, teleportable, placed at, actually no, that's a blue, is that a blue ward? No. Teleportable, placed at top inhibitor, so some flank opportunity if maybe Crazy wants to go for it. His teleport's about to come back up, and he's sitting in a pretty solid 6-item build. In fact, most players starting to finish up their builds as we crest this 70,000 gold mark for ESC Ever. Starting to get scary. What are the chances here for SSG as they do defend against a very strong Ever team?
I mean, again, it all comes back to that God engagement that they need from Cube, where he needs to find a way into all of ESC's team comp as they misstep or misposition. temporarily, and he needs to get a 4-man stun.
See if he has what it takes. Ambition also starting to maybe fall off just a little bit as insects just aren't what they used to be. Crazy getting able to get up close and personal, and here comes Bless running out, or running out, has his Guardian Angel pop. There's Temp popping his Zhonya's at just the last second. Now he should be able to pull and get himself back away with a little bit of extra healing, but I'm not sure if he can actually survive, and he will go down, so that's already one execution. Bless lost his Guardian Angel, but he's still able to usher in 2 waves of super minions onto this Samsung base, or Nexus turret. Crazy still continuing his push. He does get stunned out there. Maul allows him to stay alive, and the crushing damage on the Crown. He's going to go down, and ESC in with their second win, continuing this push. Totoro with a point-blank flash, or play, or hook in onto Ruler, pulls him back into a fight he can't escape from. Logan with the last-second crit, even after the Arcane Shift, to take out Ruler. And with the 3rd inhibitor down, ESC pushing in for what could be their final engage. Juve, cheeky kill there at the end isn't enough. He's gonna find 2 and keeps the base alive for just the last few moments. Score JJ wants to find this fight in onto Crazy, who definitely has assassination potential.
Well, he doesn't want to use his flash here. Using the flash here would actually be a pretty big, might be a pretty big mistake actually. It depends what time he kills Crazy, because Crazy does have his teleport.
Oh, can he find it? There's the damage, but look at Crazy going crazy. All that damage onto Core JJ, but neither laner can find the kill. I was actually worried that Core JJ might die there to the super minions, but Ambition with the finisher.
They might have actually just found a way to hold on. Elder Dragon is on the map. Crazy's gonna be down for the next 50 seconds. And, I mean, we can just take a look at this replay again. And ESC Ever, they were doing everything perfect, except they pulled the trigger a little too early. Temp got locked up, and as you saw, the Guardian Angel going off on Bless, they couldn't find a kill on him as he has that Ghost active. Temp demanding a lot of attention, and it actually stalled for a lot of damage to come out on Samsung's team composition. Meanwhile, Bless was back in the main base, escorting in 2 minion waves onto the turrets, forcing Samsung to be a little bit separated from each other. But in the end, I mean, Crazy dying just now to Ambition and for JJ, it looks like it's not going to matter too much, as he probably will be up during the Elder Dragon fight, if there even is one.
Yeah, it's a 13k HP Elder Dragon, so it will take quite a bit. He'll respawn to get buffed, and no contesting there from Ambition or the rest of Samsung. And this is just free and clear way to ESC Ever, who now will have the Elder Dragon for their upcoming push into what I can imagine is going to be Baron. With all 3 inhibitors down, that means that Samsung are really going to be hard-pressed to find the room to get out there and contest that objective.
Yeah, and right now they are moving their way over to Baron, and I can't see a way in which Samsung Galaxy without Flash on Ambition or Cuvée is able to win this fight. Especially because Ruler is also significantly less slippery as well without his heal or his flash.
Baron spawns, ESC Ever not aggroing it just yet, waiting for Ambition to come in. I mean, that hook really wouldn't have worked anyway because of Banshee's fail on Ambition, but you know, bonus points for attempting that. Totoro, face of the mountains to get himself a shield, also gets one off the Dark Passage.
Yeah, this is a little bit dangerous. Now, they do have teleport up for Cuvée, but they don't actually have a flanked ward, so he needs a way in, and that ward that you see left of Crown right now, that might actually be a perfect ward if ESC tries to pull the trigger onto Samsung Galaxy. That'll give Cuvée the position that he needs to actually get the ultimate that Samsung needs.
Baron down to half health, and neither Tempt or Bless are really taking any damage from it, so they can actually keep this up for a while. True Shot does catch Loken towards the back, but they do need Cuvée for this fight, so waiting for an opportunity to see him teleport in. Now Baron dishing out a lot of damage there. Loken and Bless starting to get chunked out, and so ESC Ever disengaged, but towards the Samsung base.
Yeah, and this is actually really problematic. The Elder Dragon buff is fading off of ESC Ever, and I mean, Samsung Galaxy, if they reach the 6 items across all of their champions, they're going to have the advantage inside of the team fight because of that anti-scaling on Olaf. When the fight happens, assuming no really big mishap or some champion getting snared up by Loken and deleted from the fight by Crazy, they should be the ones to actually come out ahead in the team fight and just turn the game on its head if they manage to capture Baron.
Well, Elder Dragon no longer on ESC Ever, and the fight continues, or the game continues. Samsung survived through their inhibitors being down. Bottom inhibitors actually about to come back up as well, and they've defended successfully.
Yeah, they have defended successfully, and so the game takes a little bit of a breather. And this is not a very comfortable scenario for ESC to be in right now. And both their Guardian Angels are still down, so if they want to
Blesses just came back up.
Oh, so. Blesses did just come back up.
And Crazy's is bugged, so we won't be able to tell exactly when that will be coming back online. Either way, ESC Ever still with Baron buff control, clearing out everything in the area, keeping that potential active. Although there is a ward in the back of the Baron pit that they'll need to take care of.
Yeah, and so Baron is basically going to be the victory condition for both teams at this point. We are approaching 45 minutes. Minions are getting pretty strong as well. Guardian Angel back up for Crazy.
We're going to see another Baron buff attempt here started up. ESC Ever busting it down. Samsung looking to find and engage. They missed that scatter the weak now. Crown level 18, so his passive's buffing up all of his abilities. He has reached the apex of his power, but isn't powerful enough. Samsung looking to get in there, and it's actually Baron taken by Ambition! He gets in for the steal, and now it's Samsung. Can they find this fight? ESC kind of going crazy in onto them. Temp finding the first kill there onto Ruler. Crown now going down as well. ESC the best off of that fight with Loken now finding his third kill. Baron stolen, but was it at too much of a cost?
Yeah, that's probably going to be the game going over to ESC Ever. Ambition doing what he can to attack the minion wave, because if you don't have the minions, you can't actually push on to the turret. Well, actually, maybe you can with the Vladimir. I actually think that the tankiness coming out of Tempt and oh, maybe not.
Okay, I mean, Ambition's still attacking Totoro, dealing a decent amount of damage. Tempt actually kind of god mode at this point, looking to find this kill on the core JJ, who's pretty self-sufficient. Stays alive. Now that's one inhibitor down. Ambition's still trying to do his best to be as annoying as possible. Does get the kickback in onto Crazy. He's going to stay alive and deny that wave. But with 2 inhibitors down and a few minions pushing in, can Samsung hold on for long enough?
Yeah, and it looks like it's just too much. They're too tanky, and so that will be the fall of Samsung Galaxy. And ESC Ever ties up the series 1-1.
The KeSPA Cup buff is alive and well for ESC Ever. There they stand, or rather sit, in their booths, taking game number 1 to tie the series back up at 1-1. And that'll take us to only our second game number 3 of the tournament. Samsung Galaxy losing out in game 2, and Ever looking really stronger than ever.
Yeah, I mean,
stronger than themselves.
The Syndra pick for Samsung Galaxy, it came out. I was really excited to see Crown play it. Unfortunately, he ran it straight into a Vladimir, and he did not seem that adept at playing her in that matchup. And Ambition early on looking very shaky on the Lee Sin, and even though they reached that late game scenario, a complete mess up by Cube, I feel like cost them the fight, even though they had successfully stolen the Baron.
Yeah, I gotta say, Ambition doing his utmost, trying to turn it back around in their favor towards the end of the game. But sometimes the Baron steal just isn't enough. And we've had to see some struggles for Syndra so far in both games 1 and now 2. Maybe not the go-to champion that we kind of thought she was. So we'll have to see how game number 3 goes, as that is coming up next on our docket. Of course, immediately following this, we'll get to see the return of KT Rollsters. They take on Kongdu Monster, so you don't want to miss that, or this game 3, which will be coming up in just a few minutes. So tell your friends, we'll be right back for game number 3.